Welcome to part 2, everyone. I'm going to spend a bit of time going through an example. We're going to compare the RRSPs to the TFSAs, and we're going to put some numbers to it. Okay, I want you to just see how they can both be great vehicles, but how you need to understand and manage them correctly. So I want to first draw your attention to this table of tax rates on your screen. This table shows you something called the marginal tax rate for someone who lives in Ontario at different levels of income. So what we mean by marginal tax rate is the amount of tax that you pay on the next dollar you earn. So let's say your salary for the year is $50,000. That falls within this 48 to 78,000 tax bracket. The marginal rate at this level is 29.65%. So if you earned $100 of interest income, you would pay tax on it at 29.65% or $29.65 in tax. You'll see shortly why these tax brackets are important. For our example, we're going to assume a few things. So we're going to assume that you're going to contribute $5,000 a year to an RRSP, or the after-tax equivalent of $3,500 a year to a TFSA. You decide to contribute for 30 years from the age of 35 to 65, and then you start to withdraw at 72 when that RRSP converts to a RRIF. We will assume that you withdraw for 10 years until death at age 82, and our annual rate of return is going to be 6%. So under the first scenario here, we're going to assume that at age 72, you withdraw just the required minimum from your RRIF and the equivalent amount from a TFSA. So let's go through the RRSP first. So by the time you reach 72 under this scenario, your RRSP would be worth about $535,000. From the age of 72 to 81, it will continue to make 6% a year, which would be an additional $327,000 in income. And the minimum withdrawal for a RRIF that is worth $535,000 is about $32,000 a year. According to Statistics Canada, the average Canadian earned $24,300 in retirement income, and this is made up of your old age security, your CPP, and investment income. So when we withdraw from our RRIF, that additional $32,000 is going to attract tax of about 23% or $7,300 a year. Over 10 years, the tax that you're going to pay on those withdrawals is $73,000. So at the time of death at age 82, that RRIF is still worth about $530,000. You're taking money out each year, but you're also continuing to earn 6%. So at death, that entire $530,000 is taxable income. So let's think about this tax chart again. Your retirement income was $24,000. Now you have to add an additional $530,000 in taxable income. In Ontario, every dollar you earn over $220,000 is taxed at almost 54%, and that's that bottom tax bracket there. So over $300,000 of that RRIF will attract 54% tax. In total, on death, you're going to pay $243,000 in taxes. So let's go through these numbers again. Your RRSP is worth $535,000 when it converts to a RRIF. When you have to start to withdraw, it will continue to earn an additional $327,000 until death. You will pay $73,000 in taxes on the withdrawals, and you will pay $243,000 in taxes on death. That leaves you $546,000. Now, you originally invested $150,000, which was $5,000 a year for 30 years. So you've grown your investment $396,000, and that's pretty good when you think about it. But now we need to compare that to the TFSA. So instead of contributing $5,000 a year, you can only contribute $3,500 a year. So I'm assuming a tax rate of 30%. So you get paid $5,000 and then you have to pay tax of $1,500, and that'll leave you $3,500 to invest. At the age of 72, your TFSA would be worth $370,000. You can see the difference with the RRSP and how much more it can grow just because it's on that tax deferred basis. You will continue to earn investment income until death of $226,000. But you won't pay tax on that $32,000 withdrawal, and you won't pay any tax on death. So your original investment was $3,500 for 30 years, so $105,000. That means your overall growth is $491,000. So that's $95,000 better than the RRSP. Although the investment income you earned in the RRSP was a lot higher, because of the taxes, we actually end up with less at the end of the day than the TFSA. And it's because the whole RRSP or RIF is taken into income, it can really end up paying higher rates of tax, much higher rates than what would have saved when you put the money into the RRSP. Most people don't really think about that. They just think that it's great they're getting a tax refund because they made a contribution. And it's not to say that that's not a good thing, but your RSP really needs to be managed correctly. You still grew $396,000, but you could have had $491 under the TFSA scenario. So we're going to switch it up for scenario 2, so you can really see how important it is to manage that RSP in particular. We're going to assume all the same facts, so you contribute $5,000 a year to your RSP, $3,500 a year to your TFSA. You do it for 30 years, you withdraw for 10 years, and you die at age 82, and your annual rate of return is 6%. Okay, so the difference now is that we're going to manage that RSP in retirement. So instead of taking out the minimum amount, which was $32,000 in our first example, we're now going to take out $50,000 a year. This will attract tax each year of $12,500. So the RSP has the same value at age 72, $535,000, and the investment income that you earn up until death is going to be $264,000. Now this is less because you are taking more out on an annual basis. The taxes you pay on all those withdrawals will be $125,000. Now at death, the RIF is now worth only $233,000 compared to our first example, which was about $530,000. So the taxes you pay on death are now going to be $104,000. So we have an after-tax value of $570,000. We originally contributed $150,000. So our growth now is $420,000. Let's compare that to scenario 1, where our growth was only $396,000. So looking at the RSP alone, we've saved ourselves over $23,000 just by managing how much we took out each year in retirement. And that's because we're taking out the RSP in our retirement at a lower tax rate each year, and less is being taxed at the higher rate on death. So now we need to look at the TFSA. So our value at age 72 is still $370,000, but the growth over the next 10 years is $133,000. Lower again because we're taking out $50,000 as opposed to $32,000 in our first example. The tax we pay on our withdrawals is still zero, and the tax on death is still zero. So our after-tax value is $503,000. We originally contributed $105,000, which was $3,500 a year for 30 years. So now our growth is $398,000. So in this example, the RSP actually works out better by about $21,000. So neither an RRSP or a TFSA is good or bad, and I want you to really make sure that you understand that. They both have their advantages and they both have disadvantages, and both of them have a place in your life to help you save for retirement. But I really want you to understand that they are something that you need to watch and something you need to manage. You need to make sure that you sit down with your financial advisor, whether it's a financial planner, an accountant, whoever, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you're asking the right questions and you're making good decisions about when to contribute to your RSP, when to contribute to a TFSA, when to withdraw in retirement, and how much. You want to plan so that you know where you're headed and how you're going to get there. So that's all we've got for today. I know I covered a lot, so feel free to reach out at any time if you have any questions. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you next time.